Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good to see everyone. I know some of you had mentioned you wouldn't be able to be in today, so as usual, we're recording. We do have a guest today, Mr. Rusty Anderson, the Director of Career Services. He's going to talk to you about the services that's provided by that office. And I also want to mention to you before we get started that today I will post your resume assignment. So again, look in Canvas, that resume assignment will be there. I'm going to give you about a week and a half to complete it. So that should be more than enough time. And Career Services does offer resume review services, which Mr. Anderson will be talking with you about as well. So, Mr. Anderson, it's all yours, and I'm going to pass out some books while he's talking to you all.
Thank you, Dr. Madison. Good morning. Man, y'all responded just like you look. Not a lot of energy. Well, let's get started. What I'm going to do, I'm going to share you a little bit more than just career services and what we do to help you. I'm going to begin your journey to either validating what you want to do, why you want to do it, and figure out a good game plan. I kind of walked around the room a few minutes ago and asked several of you what your plans were for post-graduation. So let's go back and visit that for just a second. So I think you said forensics is what you want to do, forensics chemistry. And so let's talk about why you want to be in forensics chemistry.
I always loved true crime and mystery, and I loved chemistry when I took it in high school, so I was like, well, why not do both?
Okay. All right. So what are the tasks that forensics people do that are particularly interesting to you?
Well, they could take, different things, such as do just different particles or different substances they might find on a body, and they could test them to see where they come from or what they are.
Okay.
And they can use that to pinpoint where it is, where the body was, or who the suspect is.
You've done a little research on the field, right?
Yeah, I watched a lot of true crime.
Good. Here's what I find. I find a lot of students, when you ask them, why do you want to do what you want to do, don't have a real good answer for that. I know there's a couple of students in here that are thinking about medical school. And if I ask you why you want to be a doctor other than helping people, what might your answer be? I know you're not looking at me anymore. You're like looking away. Don't make eye contact. He won't call on me. I'm going to help you answer those questions today because I find that many students come to college, they have a major, they have a career path, but they're not really sure what's done in the job. And so today I'm going to remove any doubts or any questions about whether or not you should fit that job, because you need to go test out the tasks that are done in the job, the skills that are done in the job, and to make sure that that is really what you want to be doing for how many years? A lot of years, right? You just never know how long you're going to be working. I've been in this field for 41 years. I started when I was 4, so it makes me 45, right? Y'all agree to that? Okay? But I never have to go to work. I get to go do something that I love to do every day, and that is talking to students, helping students, and mentoring students, okay? And that's what you need to find out. You need to gather enough information for your career field that you feel like, hey, I will not have to go to work. This is something I enjoy doing. This is something I want to be doing every day. But until you really determine what's done in the job, and we think we know, okay? We go to a doctor, yes, and we see what they do. They come in, they interact with you, they decide what they need to do to treat your condition or whatever. They prescribe a medicine, and they're out of there. But there's a lot of other things they do behind the scenes that we don't always see. So I want you to think about that. Pharmacists, same way. Okay, there's all different kinds of pharmacy types of jobs that you can do forensics. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore the Career Services website here. And you're going to find a lot of resources here. We have a Career and Internship Expo coming up on the 27th. Take a look at the companies coming, see if there's some that might be of interest to you, and go over there and visit with these employers. Learn how to introduce yourself in the career guide that you got. You got a 60-second introduction outline. Develop your 60-second introduction. So Dr. Masterson walks in and says, tell me about yourself. You can tell him about yourself in about a minute, who you are, what you're doing academically, some of your involvement, some of the skills or learning outcomes that you're seeking, and then what your career and profession is. That's a great introduction. And you're going to need that when you start interviewing for internships. And we do help with internship placement. The Center for Pathway Experiences is in the Career Services office. It's linked to us. We have a new person coming in, it's a program manager starting Friday with great skills, great experience. And so if you're thinking about an internship or getting some experiential learning research, come talk to our office. Also, if you're interested in research, make sure you register. I'm sure Dr. Maston's already told you with the Office of Undergraduate Research, right? And get linked in. Dr. Mike Davis in biology, he says they have research opportunities, and if you ask him where they post them, it's in the elevator of Johnson Science Tower. When I spoke to his class, sure enough, there they were, the research jobs. You've seen them in there, haven't you? And so keep your eyes open, seek out opportunities. So the Career and Intern Expo is a way that you can go, and we want you to go to such things. You'll also see some of the other resources that we have. So we're going to focus on services first, and then I'm going to show you some resources that should be able to help you out. So here's what we do. We work in the career planning, career decision-making areas for all students. And what that means is it's just gathering information about your interests, your likes, your personality, your career values, and help you formulate realistic career goals that fit your interest, skills, and values. If you've never done that, now might be a good time to do that before you invest several years in your degree program. We also, as I mentioned, help with internships. We help with part-time jobs. We help with full-time job placement. We help with resume development. We do practice interviews, mock interviews. I've already mentioned to several of my students that are interested in med school in here that we do MMI training to get you ready for those intense MMI. Those are what we call multiple mini interviews, where you go to a med school interview, there's a situation on the wall, you have 2 minutes to read it, think about it, what you want to say about it. You walk into a room, you have to talk about how you would resolve that situation for 8 minutes. And so practicing those types of things is very, very helpful. Pharmacy school, I don't think they're doing MMIs right now. Physician assistance program, they are. PT, OT, not so much right now, but I'm thinking they're probably going to go to those in the very, very near future. So we really have anything to transition from where you are today to where you want to be in the future. So let's go look at some of our online resources to help us figure out what it is that we really want to be doing. Now, you see the PDF of the career guide. Most students say they like to have a hand copy of it. They tell us they really like it. Most students keep these for several years. What you're going to find in your career guide is going to be a 4-year plan that starts, let me put these on so I can see the numbers. It starts on page 6. So each year, there's some tasks that we think that students should be involved in to be developing for job seeking or graduate school or professional school. You can see the freshman year, sophomore year. It includes getting involved, start thinking about experiential learning, hands-on experiences in the sophomore year. All of it focuses on continuing your academic journey to stay strong. And then your junior year, really start focusing on that application for grad school, focusing on the types of companies that you might want to work for, start your networking period. And then as a senior, it's the application, right? So if you're going to med school, pharmacy school, you really need to start your application in your junior year because they are interviewing for programs right now for the next fall. So you don't really have all 4 years to be really considering what you want to do. Now teaching, you'll do your student teaching the last semester, and then we do job fairs for teachers also. So we have something for everybody. And what I'm really going to encourage you to do is to get acquainted with us, come visit with us, at least have one conversation this semester at some point, if not next semester, with a career person and just walk through your career plans and see if we can add some other ideas for you to connect you to some people that you might want to interview or maybe shadow or observe or those types of things. So make sure that you have a plan, that you just don't go through a 4-year journey, you graduate and say, now what? Because sometimes jobs are difficult to get, and getting into programs, they're difficult to get. So the better you prepare through the course of your career, the stronger your candidacy going to be. All right, Handshake is simply our job posting system, okay? That's where we post all of our jobs, both on campus, off campus, part-time, full-time, internships. If you want to find any jobs that we know of, then you can go into Handshake and you can find them. There's a search button in the jobs where you could put in internship. If you're thinking, hey, I want to do an internship in the near future, click on internships, put in your keyword, and it will show you all the internships that we have available in there. It's very easy to use. You can actually click the blue Save This Search, and it will notify you how often you want it to notify you when internships based on your search criteria pop into our system. So you don't always have to go into Handshake. You can set up those searches to be notified. All right, what I really want to focus in, those are two good sources. Now let's go in here to what can I do with a major? And this is an area that almost every student when I go to class tells me, I'm glad I knew this was available. I didn't know it was before. This was very, very helpful. And now here's how I think it's going to be helpful to you. Is we're going to go down and find chemistry. Dr. Masses has said all of your chemistry majors. And I'm going to see how do you make this a little bit bigger. Can y'all see that okay? Good enough? Okay, all right. What you're going to find here are categories that chemistry majors can go into. Not a lot of information about a particular category, but different specialty areas. Very important for you to look at, because some of you may say, well, I'm not sure what there is to do with chemistry. I don't know what all my options are with chemistry. Can you see that over the board? Okay. Okay. And then you'll see the job titles. So what do these people do in any chemistry discipline? Here are the titles. And then you see the employers. And then you're going to see some strategies. Okay, strategies for this. So what does it say? Develop strong verbal, written teamwork, and some other things there. What it's saying to you is career competencies. We want you developing career competencies. There are about 10 of them. They're listed in your book on page 7. Actually, there's 8 that we focused on in the career guide. And these are career competencies. All employers, all medical school, all graduate school says we want students to have these competencies. And you're going to start seeing in your course syllabus, or syllabi, I guess, since you're taking more than one course, icons, these icons on your syllabus, which links that learning activity to a competency. So pay attention to those and start recording those, because when you go to interviews, they're going to ask, tell me about a time in which you had to take leadership. Describe that situation. But the fact that you've done these leaderships, you're able to articulate that back to employers. So when you see those icons, they're linking your assignments to real-world preparation, real career preparation, and that's what those icons are going to do. I'm going to show you Focus 2 in just a second, and we're going to explore that a little bit more. So let's move on with chemistry. You've got agricultural chemistry. You can see some of the job titles in agricultural chemistry, places that will hire students with that emphasis. And you can see a brief description, again, strategies. Then we get into analytical chemistry. Some of you might find that very of interest, but you've never even thought about it, didn't even know that was available. Here's biochemistry. I think I heard somebody say they're biochemistry major, right? I think I remember you telling me that. And so here are some of the different career fields that are available for you and places that will hire you. And again, some strategies for preparing for the job. So I'm going to encourage you to go look at those strategies. Chemical engineering, same type of information. So I'm not going to read to you, but we're going to go, let's see here. Here's geochemistry. Inorganic chemistry. Look at all the options you have in chemistry, right? You'll see that a lot of them are going to indicate maybe graduate school, and that's okay. Know that up front. Know, hey, I'm going to have to invest a little bit more time and resources to do what I want to do. And then start preparing to make sure you're admittable to grad school. Make sure that you have all the credentials to maybe secure a TA or GA. Do y'all know what those are? Teaching assistant or graduate assistant. And those are jobs that you get as a graduate student. Typically, they pay your full tuition cost as a GA or TA, and you get a nice stipend. And depending on the discipline you're in, that stipend can go from $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 to some of our, I'm not going to say which department, but I know they make in the 20s, some of those students in some of these high areas. So you want to be competitive for TA, GAs. You want to be competitive for admissions into the top tier graduate schools. Don't think that because you go to Southern Miss, you can't get in the top 10 schools in the country. We put them in there all the time. So you want to position yourself to be most competitive for whatever program that you choose to do. Those are the kind of discussions that we can have with you in career services. All right, we're going to keep going here. Look, there's material sciences. Okay, organic chemistry. We have physical chemistry, polymer chemistry, we have education, we have healthcare, all the different areas of healthcare which you're very familiar with. Other professional opportunities, look, you can go into some business areas, you can go into the publications areas, etc. So there are a lot of different things you can do. And then what can I do the major in? We'll show you some links so you can click on these and go read more about your career if you want to. There's also some related resources and associations that you could consider looking at if maybe they have a student membership. Now don't go spend a whole lot of money that you don't have to join everything, but be very selective. So what is the benefit of joining an association as a student? Absolutely. Who said that? You are the winner. Networking, getting connected, going to conferences, going to meetings, looking at members, conversing with members in that organization, developing, asking the question, I'm planning to go, what do you plan to do?
Research.
Research. I'm planning to go into research. What are some of the tips you could give me as an undergraduate to prepare? How did you get to where you are? All of these people are potential mentors, and it's going to provide you some good information. Studying in class is not always sufficient. You want to be continuing to learn and grow outside of your academic textbooks because you may be asked some of these questions like that. What are you doing to stay abreast in the field? What are you doing outside of classes to keep learning in your industry that you want to get into? All right, students, that is what can I do their major in. Helpful? Gives you lots of categories, right? Some of you didn't even know that there were all these things to do. Then we're going to go into Focus 2. Focus 2 is an online career guidance program in which you can explore your interests. You can also explore your majors. Let me see where I put my card, Dr. Master. I think I put it back in my pocket. I usually use my computer, I told Dr. Master, and so I don't have to ever remember my password. And I'm hoping this is it. That wasn't it, so let me try it again. There we go. And I'm going to go into my student website. This is what it'll look like. Now, when you go to Focus, you're going to have to click on the blue registration button if you don't have an account. The blue registration button. As soon as you click on that button, it's going to ask for your code. So on page 10, you're going to look at all of our online resources in the career guide. So on page 2, if you have something to write with outside of Focus 2, then I want you to write the code you're going to need. And this allows you to have a free Focus account. Don't Google Focus and create your account. It's going to ask you to pay for it. We've already bought all the accounts that we need for Southern Miss students. All right, y'all ready? The code that you're going to need is lowercase USM 500. Lowercase USM 500. That allows you free access to Focus. When you get in, you're going to put in basic information. And by the way, you use your own username, you create your own password. It's not linked to SOAR at all, so you don't have to use your SOAR credentials for this. Just create whatever you want. Why would I use Focus? Well, there's several reasons that I'm going to suggest that you go into Focus. Remember, we talked about career competencies earlier, right? And you may be thinking, well, how do I do these competencies? How do I develop these competencies? Well, up in the top right-hand corner, it says, am I career ready? We go into Am I Career Ready, and there's some brief questions about the competencies that you would answer about yourself from 1 star to 5 star. 5 star meaning I've mastered this competency, 1 star meaning I have no idea if I've done anything with it or not, or somewhere in between. Once you do that, you'll get results of your competencies. All right, so I just randomly answered to see what mine might look like, but these are the competencies that we keep focus on, and you'll see where you are, whether you're not yet developed, slightly developed, moderately, etc., and you'll know some of the areas that you might want to work on. Once you get through the competencies, Then you're going to get some, how do I further develop these? Okay, I'm moderately developed on the critical thinking. So what else might I do to develop the critical thinking competencies? Here's a bucket list item for you. You can check them off, and then you can seek out opportunities to further develop the competencies. So these are important things for you to be doing in addition to classes. Y'all just needed more to do, didn't you? This man's giving us homework, isn't he? Well, yes and no. I'm giving you professional development tips and pointers. This is what employers are going to want. This is what medical school people are going to want. This is what forensics interviewers are going to want when you get there, because you're going to have to solve problems. You're going to have to think critically. You're going to have attention to detail, right? It's forensics because that's part of the job. And then these are some sample behaviors. Again, we can go through all of these different areas, and you can look for those yourself. I just wanted to show you one to get you kind of, to whet your appetite. Then we can go look at the work interest. Work interest is an occupational personality. It has about 25 questions. You go through it very quickly, answer I like it or I dislike it. Here's what happens when you do that. You get your results. You get your occupational personality type. This is my actual score here, social, investigative, and enterprising. And I could relate that to career fields to see if I'm similar to people doing those jobs. Isn't it important to know if you kind of are like people in those jobs? It's not always a perfect fit, but if you're directly opposite, for example, used car salesperson, you would probably describe that person as loud, convincing, persuasive, in your face, right? Manipulative, persuading. Okay, not everybody's like that. The guy that sells me my Hondas is very conservative, very reserved, almost an introvert, but he's very good at allowing me to pick my own car out. And at the end of the day, I buy a car from him, so it seems to work. But not everybody would fit that mode. Get your personality type. And why do you do that? Well, there's several reasons, particularly in your stage of your academic program. Focus will then show you some career fields that people with your personality type often go into. You can see those things that would be recommended to me if I was a freshman or sophomore in college. Then these are some careers that I might consider reviewing because it tends to fit my type. So that gives me lots of options to do that. And there's a good number of them. Focus also has in it abilities, some other assessments. I also want to go into what can I do the major in. All right? So this is what can I do the major in. Let's say that I'm thinking about going into chemistry. We click on that. These are some careers. You can see the average salary for these people, whether it's a green job, environmentally friendly job, the sun or the circle there means has a bright outlook, a lot of growth, a lot of new jobs. You can kind of go in and look at your jobs. And then let's say I think I want to be a biochemist. I'm thinking about being a biochemist here. It tells you what they do. Then it tells you the task. Remember I covered the task with you guys earlier? And I said, why do you want you to do what you want to do? This is answering that question. When you read those tasks, if you say that's not really what I want to be doing, you don't want to be a biochemist, because that's what biochemists do for the most part in their job. You can also look at the personality types. The blue is mine, the red is theirs. You think I'm going to like this job? I'm not going to like it. Can I do it? Probably, but I'm not going to like it. Why? Because they're much more investigative oriented than I care to be. I'm much more mentoring, teaching, instructing, helping than they care to be day to day. It's very important you figure that. They're more creative than I am. They like working with their hands, tools, and equipment more than I do. I wouldn't enjoy doing that. So it tells me really quickly if I'm thinking about being a biochem major, I need to really have some second thoughts. I need to have some discussions. I need to make sure what really attracts me about that. So you can do your interest and you can do your various careers. Then we look at the skills that are required. Some of these are going to overlap the competencies. You see the values, you see your working conditions. Again, various ways to get into this industry, different majors, the outlook, expected to grow fairly well between now and the year 2028. You can look at salaries. And then the last thing, let's see if I want to show you anything else in focus, and I'm going to ONET, and then I'm going to go to your resume assignment in a little bit of time that I have available, okay? I think that's all I want to show you about Focus. So again, I'm going to encourage you to have a Focus account at some point this semester. Go in, do at least the interest assessment, check out your scales. If they don't fit, they don't match, don't panic. That's where Career Services comes in. You can have a conversation. We'll work through it. It may be that your interests, your avocational interests, your hobbies show up very high in there. Maybe you like to work on cars or machines or take things apart and your realistic's real high, but your career choice isn't that high. And you say, well, am I going to enjoy it? Well, maybe that your interest showed up simply because of some of your avocational interests. So those are the types of discussions that we can have. Last resource I want to show you in terms of career planning, career exploration. You'll see some other resources on here. Very quickly, we're going to look at ONET. ONET is really the more thorough job search place. So we're just going to put chemist in the job search. Look at all the different careers that chemists can do. Those are kindred and related, and you want to find a career which you're kindred and related, because here's what's going to happen. Most of you would change jobs on average 7 to 10 times. That sound like a lot? It's really not a lot, but you want to change jobs within the same family of jobs or careers. You want to find your right family of jobs. So if you're in chemistry, a lot of these things are kindred enough that if you change, you don't have to go restart all over and re-educate. Now, you may have to go to a specialty area, but in the same family. So my career path, I've had 3. How many career jobs have you had?
Since I've been here?
All total in your professional life?
Probably 6.
6? So there we go. He's close to 7. I've had 3. So I'm a little bit different than that, but most students today that graduate have 7 to 10 jobs. If you go to med school, once you get a practice, you probably will stay with that. Maybe you want to go specialize later and do something. That would be a couple, but it's the same family. So we're looking at families of jobs. We go in and look at chemists real quickly. Then what it tells you is a whole bunch of tasks that Focus covered a little bit, but you want to go read these tasks. And again, if you want to be a chemist or whatever, validate it by saying, yeah, those tasks excite me. I would enjoy doing those tasks. The rest of ONET tells you about skills, abilities, values, some of the same things that we've been talking about. And this is what most of you are first or second year students, is that right? This is the time to do that. If you want to know, this is a time before you heavily invest in junior level courses, early senior courses, and then suddenly reach a roadblock and say, you know what, this is not really what I thought it was, and then start changing your major. So we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. We want to get a real clear focus in our sophomore year, by the end of our sophomore year, so that then we have a plan in place. So when we moved into the junior year, we're taking the deeper courses within our subject matter. We start thinking about postgraduate plans. We start investigating medical schools or forensics master's program or whatever it is that you choose to do, or pharmacy schools. I know there's a couple of you that said pharmacy in here. And then move forward with it. I make that sound so easy, don't I? Information is critical for you, and most students make decisions with limited or no information. So now you have the decision-making module. What are my options? You evaluate your options using these tools. You weigh the pros and the cons of each of the options. Then you do the analysis of your investigation, your research, your fact-finding, and you make a decision. And when you make that decision, it should be a good decision because you know what you need to know to come to that conclusion. So if you've ever wondered how that works, great. Many students get here, they know what they want to do, they live happily ever after doing it. Some students get here without any idea what they want to do, and hopefully they don't graduate without knowing, but some do. But most of you figure it out. This information should be able to help you. All right, in about 4 or 5 minutes, let me give you a little bit about resumes. I'm going to send you our resume rubric that you can post in Canvas for your class that we use to evaluate resumes.
Okay.
Please feel free to bring your resume to Career Services. Easy to do that. You simply can go online if you want to and schedule your appointment a couple of different ways. Whoop, I went to the wrong place. I went too far, so let's do schedule an appointment with a career advisor, okay? that's how you do it. You can do a virtual appointment that way, or if you want to come in person, you can do it in person. We're seeing students in both platforms, so whatever you're most comfortable with, all right? I am not currently on that rotation. If you want to meet with me, feel free to call the office and ask for a meeting with me by name, and the front desk can take care of you. My name's Rusty Anderson. I'm the director. I love to meet with students, so if you want to meet with me, schedule with me. If you get in a tight situation with your resume, because my schedule stays fairly busy and you don't have to, we can't gel your schedule, schedule, meet with any of the staff. They're very good. They're all prepared. Right now I'm helping with the Pathways program since that's not there, and that's keeping me seeing students regarding internships right now for the next couple of weeks. But I'd love to meet with you. All right. You have sample resumes in your career guide here. Please look through the sample resumes. We have some for science majors. We have some for science majors. Here's what you need to keep in mind. No high school information at this point, your first or second. Well, first year students can. I prefer you not to, but if you needed to fill up the page, yes. Sophomores, no. So make sure that your information is presented consistently, format, the headings are clear. You want to be concise and to the point. You want to write to the reader. So let's say that Dr. Masterson is the employer and you're going to be applying with him, then you write your resume to his interest. Not what you think is important, but what you think he's going to think is important. So you don't have to list everything you've done, but the most important things you've done. You want to bow print your leadership positions. You want to bow print either where you've worked or the job titles, which is more important. If you've done some research, create a section called research experience and highlight that independently, right? In your degree and college area, you want to have the University of Southern Mississippi, but you want to bold print your major and your degree, and we're going to have anticipated graduation date. If you have a 3.0 GPA, put it in. A lot of these tips are in your career guide, so please go and read your career guide, update your resume before you bring it to Career Services. Don't ask us to say, hey, write my resume for me. Want to use more of the conservative layouts. There's a couple of very creative resume layouts in the book. Those are a little bit more for public relations, advertising, arts folks, not necessarily science folks. So you want to be a little bit more conservative in what you do with your resume. Try to keep it to one page. Work experience, again, just list a couple of those. You don't have to list every job you've ever had or will have, just a couple of them. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is once you turn this into Dr. Masterson, I don't know why I'm struggling with your name today. It must be the Dr. Masterson.
That's all right.
Is to keep that resume, and once a semester, when you go to advisement, remember, hey, I need to update my resume. Pull that resume out and update it, because if you don't, you're going to forget stuff you do. And you'll be able to see that resume, and you'll see if there are any holes in the resume. You know what I mean by holes? Do I have enough student orgs? Do I have any leadership positions? Have I done an internship yet? That'll remind you that. Do I have done any research? What am I doing to push my credentials past my competition? Because you will compete for every job, you'll compete for every graduate position you get and every TA. And so you want to have a resume that you know will be competitive when you get ready to start sending it out. You cannot throw this together your senior year. I could spend an hour talking about resumes, but I had 30 minutes and I have used my time, so there's a lot more information. So come meet with us who are professionals in resume writing, job seeking strategies, interviewing strategies. Over in Career Services, if you need help deciding on your major, if I said something today and you said, you know what, I need to change my major. I don't want to steal your chemistry majors, Doc, but some of you might need to change your major based on what you find, or at least your career path based on what you find. Come have those conversations. We'll help you. Did you learn something helpful today? My goal was to make a difference in one student's life today. So can I go home? No, I can't go home. I got a full day of appointments and MMI training. I was telling my students there today. But I love what I do. I'd love to help you along the way. Thank y'all for allowing me to come in and present to you this morning. Thank you, Dr. Masterson.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. Let's thank Mr. Anderson. Now, students, one thing that I want to mention to you all, Mr. Anderson mentioned that they're having a career expo, I believe, on October the 27th.
Yes.
And they also have the opportunity for you to connect with a career advisor. Either one of those I would count as an on-campus activity for your activity assignment. for activity assignment number 2, which will be due about mid-November. So October 27th will be in plenty of time to complete that if you're thinking about going to the Career and Internship Expo, or is it just
We
career?
have an internship, it's Career and Internship Expo, yes.
Okay.
And then the night before, we have an internship panel where we're gonna have some individuals that did internships last summer talking about the value of the internship and encouraging students to take.
So any of those activities with career services, I would count as one of your on-campus activities. Remember, you just need to write a reflection about it. You need to tell me whether it was academic or cultural. These things would be more academic. I mean, we're going to count career as part of your academics. And then you have to write, a reflection and then have proof of attendance. And I'm pretty liberal with what I take on proof of attendance, right? So it can be a picture, it can be a sign-in sheet, whatever works. Because I know right now it's kind of difficult to get things with the pandemic. So we're pretty flexible with that. But any of the opportunities that they have at Career Services will certainly count as one of your activities for Activity 2. So, and I'm going to post that this week. And so as activities make themselves available, feel free to take advantage of it. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Anderson.
you.
Appreciate it very much.
All right.
Yeah.
You want those for your department?
I'll tell you what, I'll take just a few.
Take a few.
And you can have the rest.
I'll take them back.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank y'all. Come see us.
Will do. All right. Are there any questions that you might have about the upcoming resume assignment? You've got the career guide that's got information about resumes. You've got the links that I've given you to videos on crafting a resume. What you might find, give me just one second. What you might find is that sometimes you get conflicting advice, and you just have to make a decision about that, okay? You might see in one video that they say never do this, and Mr. Anderson said definitely bold that, right? I mean, so again, a lot of this is general advice. A lot of it is personal preference. But again, you're going to have to make a decision on what your resume is going to look like. Yes?
So you said don't include any high school stuff, but I did like a lot of internships in high school and stuff. So does that apply?
For right now, I think it's okay for the purposes of this class. As you move up, those things will start to fall off. You know, when I was applying for my first real job, I had many jobs before my first real job. I was in college. I worked at a laboratory, an environmental laboratory part-time. That's how I paid my way through college. Great experience, but my resume was about 2 pages long, and I still had some high school stuff on there because I had gone to Boys State. You know, I put my things on there that led them to believe that I was interested in a career in chemistry. So, you know, I was a member of the chemistry club. I did all those kinds of things. I went to the International Science Fair. Those things were still on there at that point. If you were to look at my resume today or my CV, none of that is there now. It is long since expired, and they're good memories that I have and hold on to, but not something that I really share in a professional manner anymore. So, very good question. Any other questions about it? Yes?
For listing jobs you currently have, do you prefer our start date to present, like range, or currently held? What do you think is the best?
The way that I do it is start date to present, or whatever that date is, but it is up, I mean, there is a little bit of personal preference to that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to limit your resume length to 2 pages. That does not mean you have to fill up 2 pages, okay? But if what you turn in is your name, your contact information, your education, and pretty much so nothing after that, that's a no-go, okay? So, again, I'm going to be fairly lenient in the grading of the assignment as long as, you know, it looks professional and is an accurate representation of your stuff, then we're going to do that. Yes, ma'am?
Do we have any professional licenses? What do you think
So typically, like in my case, I do have some professional licensures. You typically create a category called professional licensure, or professional licenses, depending on the terminology you want to use. But typically in the academic world, we use the word licensure. But more in the industrial world, they might use the word license. They both mean the same thing, just different preferences for that. Any other questions? All right, well, no sense in keeping you any longer than you need to, so I will have an attendance assignment due by 5 o'clock today. I'll get that posted soon. There'll be a reflection assignment. I am going to make that reflection assignment maybe a little bit longer than usual in terms of the time that you have to complete it, because I'm going to have you go and create a focus account. Okay, so that's going to be part of that. So you can go ahead and get started on that if you want to. And we'll have that posted later this afternoon as well. And that'll probably be due on Friday this week instead of at the end of the day tomorrow. So have a great week, and I'll see you all later.